Our chapter is United Nations and its major agencies. So we'll just start with the background of formation of the United Nations. Originally, United Nations Charter was signed by 51 countries. Today, there are 193 members of the United Nations. Discussions were going on during the World War to frame an international organization, and the United Nations was the culmination of those discussions. The United Nations came into existence on October 24, 1945, and India became its member on 30th October. The United Nations has several purposes to serve, and the basic objective for which the United Nations was formed was the maintenance of international peace, human rights, cooperation among the member states, economic development to solve international political, economic, and humanitarian problems. In all these, international peace and human rights seems to be most important because wherever there is a violation of human rights in the world, that voice is raised in United Nations, as was the case in Syria by the ISIS, in the case of Sri Lanka. You may take a simple example. If a police do a lathi charge, then it's a violation of a human right because it's a fundamental right to protest. And whenever this human rights violation is on large scale, the voice is raised in the United Nations. So whenever on human rights basically means dignity of human being. So whenever there is a violation of a dignity of human being on a large scale, that voice is raised in the United Nations. So besides maintaining international peace, human rights has been the most important function and work of the United Nations organization. And rather, its other functionary agencies serve for economic development and other purposes. Now, on the background, if we go, the Treaty of Versailles was held after the First World War, and that Treaty of Versailles was concluded by 30 countries. The four big, Woodrow Wilson, David Lloyd George, George Clemenceau, and Orlando. These were the four big for USA, UK, France, and Italian prime ministers and the presidents. They concluded a Treaty of Versailles. And an international organization was formed that is popularly called League of Nations, but technically called League of Intergovernmental Organization. So League of Nations or League of Intergovernmental Organization was formed, but it's well known that League of Nations could not work because some of the fascist countries adopted such a foreign policy that they made almost impossible for the League of Nations to work. So League of Nations was the predecessor of United Nations because there was continuously a need felt that there should be an international organization which would serve for the international peace because the Second World War came to an abrupt end after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it was felt urgently the need of an international organization. The term United Nations was coined much before the formation of the UN. It was coined by Franklin Roosevelt, US President, and it was coined on 1st January 1942. And United Nations came into existence on October 24 and 1945. So the talks were going on for these several years, and then the organization came into existence. So as I discussed that it was originally signed by the 50 members, and then Poland was the 51st to sign that. It had its headquarters in New York. It has its regional headquarters too. They are in Geneva, in Nairobi, in Vienna. So every international organization have a main headquarters and the regional headquarters also. So coming to the functioning of the United Nations, there are 6 official languages that are being spoken in the UN and which official work is being carried out. So that languages are Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian and Spanish. So these are 6 major languages that are being spoken in UN, and these languages serve for the official purpose of the United Nations. So if India has to present some proposal, it will be presented in English only. United Nations has 193 members. The members originally they were 51, as we have discussed. Now they are 193. And the last member to join United Nations was South Sudan. And you must be aware that South Sudan was no country. Sudan was divided into Sudan and South Sudan, and then by a civil war. And then South Sudan became the member of the UN in the year 2011. And Palestine has applied for the membership of the United Nations, that is being pending. Before South Sudan, Montenegro became the member, and before Montenegro, Switzerland became the member, and before Switzerland, East Timor became the member, and before that, Tuvalu became the member. These were the members after 189. These were the countings after 189. So membership is continuously increased. From 51, they have traveled to 193. You must be thinking that the headquarters are in New York. The first meeting of United Nations must be held in New York, but that's not the case. The first meeting of the United Nations was held in London in the Westminster Central Hall, and that's a question of GK rather, in January 1946. And principal United Nations organizations are 6: General Assembly, the Security Council, the Secretariat, the Economic and Social Council, the International Court of Justice, and Trusteeship Council. And Trusteeship Council has ceased to exist because it has completed in job, and it was officially closed, shut down in 1994. Rest all bodies and organizations of the United Nations are in progress, they are functioning well. So let us come to the General Assembly. So it has its headquarters in New York, and General Assembly has to meet at least once in a year. General Assembly oversees the budget and announces who will be the non-permanent member in the Security Council. We'll discuss that there are 5 permanent members in the Security Council. Those are called P5, permanent 5. So besides P5, there are 10 other members. So those 10 members are being appointed, rather selected by the General Assembly. So one of the work of the General Assembly to announce the non-permanent member in the Security Council and to oversee the budget. Each country has one vote in the United Nations. The major function of the General Assembly is for peace, is for security, election, as I said, for the members of the various organizations, including the non-permanent members of the Security Council, and admission and suspension of the budget also. So this is the work, and this all is done by the 2/3 majority of the General Assembly. Now, the head of the General Assembly, someone has to be head of the General Assembly. The head of the General Assembly is called President. President of the General Assembly. And the term for the President of the General Assembly is 1 year. So Tijani Muhammad Bande of Tanzania is now the President of the General Assembly. It's a convention that permanent members, P5, will not become the President of the General Assembly. So rather, General Assembly is a democratic floor on which countries are rotated, and presidents are elected from all over the world. From India, there was a president in the General Assembly, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, who was the sister of former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. She presided over the session of the General Assembly. She has been the only president of the General Assembly from India. Rather, the only country to preside for the General Assembly twice, means in a succession, is Argentina, and that favor has been given to Argentina by voting. Except this, none of the countries allowed to give its president in a row, means only one time a country is allowed, and then whenever its turn comes, that's a matter of voting. So only Argentina is being given 2 chances. So that was a General Assembly. You must be thinking that it's a rather type of world parliament, and you are right, it's a type of world parliament, but the point to be focused is that the head of the General Assembly is the president, that is elected by the General Assembly, and the tenure of the president is 1 year. Now we come to the Security Council, which is the most powerful organization of the United Nations. It consists of 15 members. Its strength is 15. China, France, Russia, Britain, and USA are its permanent members. The non-permanent members are elected, as I told, by the General Assembly for the tenure of 2 years, and the tenure starts from 1st January in any year, and it will end on the next December, 31st December. Means it's for 2 calendar years. So this is the way the non-permanent members are elected, and India has been elected for 7 times for being the non-permanent member of the Security Council. So this Security Council works on the basic objective of maintaining peace and security in the world, and rather it is also responsible for imposing international sanctions, and Security Council authorizes military actions over the aggressive states that are violating the peace and order of the world, because the basic function of the basic objective of the United Nations was to establish peace of the world, because they all were suffering from the calamities of the world war. Now the head of the Security Council is termed as president, and interestingly, the head of the president holds the office only for a month. So presidency of the Security Council is rotated every month. 1 month one country is the president of that, and the next month other country will be president of it. So it's a monthly presidentship of the Security Council. And as I discussed that there are P5 permanent 5 members, and there are 10 non-permanent members. So these P5 are considered as a nuclear weapon states, that they are authorized to have nuclear weapons, and they can use nuclear weapons if they are agreed. Except these countries, none of the country in the world is allowed to make nuclear weapons, and if it does so, it will have to face the sanctions of the United Nations. And India was one of the victims of these, because India tested Pokhran 1 during the period of Srimati Indira Gandhi, and then during the period of Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and both times India has to face the sanctions, and Pokhran 1 and Pokhran 2, and these sanctions were uplifted after several years, 7-8 years. So sanctions means economic sanctions. So whenever there is a test against the will of the Security Council of the United Nations, there are sanctions against the country. So India has always raised its voice that India should be a permanent member of the Security Council, because China is the permanent member of the Security Council, and China is violating the peace of the Asia. But that voice had not been heard in the permanent General Security Council. Now the presidentship, the non-permanent membership of the members are rotated, such as Afro-Asian, there are 5 countries, there are Latin American 2 countries. I mean, they will select 2 members from Latin America, 5 from Afro-Asian, and 2 from West European, and 1 from East European, whenever there is a need to select. Now, in the Article 27 of the UN Charter, it has been given that the permanent member has a power to veto. If any of the member in the Security Council that is permanent vetoes, means if it do not desire, then that action will not be taken. So this permanent 5 have the veto power, and if anyone uses its veto, then that resolution will not be implemented. So veto power is absolute power that is exercised by the members of the Security Council, permanent member of the Security Council. Now we come to the Secretariat. So Secretariat is rather a place where the administrative officers with their political heads do sit. So as we know, there is a State Secretariat, Central Secretariat, where the Prime Minister sits. In a State Secretariat, the Chief Minister sits with the officers. So like this, there is a Secretariat of the United Nations, and Secretariat is headed by a Secretary General, not the President. Secretariat is headed by a Secretary General, and Secretary General has a tenure of 5 years, not 1 year or a month, neither 2 years. So it has a tenure of 5 years, and he is the Chief Administrative Officer of the United Nations, Rather, you must be knowing present Secretary General is Antonio Guterres from Portugal, and before him, Ban Ki-moon was selected twice Secretary General of the elected Secretary General of the United Nations, and he was Foreign Minister of South Korea. So for the second term, continuous second term, he was being elected, and the first Secretary General of United Nations was Trygve from Norway. Uh, Besides this Ban Ki-moon, the other Asian that is to be elected as a Secretary General of the United Nations was U Thant from Burma, that's now called Myanmar. So before Antonio Guterres and Ban Ki-moon, Boutros Ghali, Kofi Annan, these were the famous Secretary Generals, Dag Hammarskjöld, that have worked worldwide for the peace and international cooperation and security. They are well known for their personalities. So you must be understanding that the work of this secretariat is like this. Now the other other body of the United Nations is ECOSOC, the Social and Economic Council, and its term is 1 year. Means the presidentship of the ECOSOC is 1 year. It tackles the social and economic issues. The first president was Ramaswamy Madaliar of this ECOSOC. The membership of this ECOSOC is only 54, but it works for economic and social cooperation, and it has passed the budget of $2 trillion for the green technology. And I mean this clean technology, green technology to save the Earth's planet. So this ECOSOC, or the Economic and Social Council, is working for the economic and social cooperation. So this is one of the major agencies of the United Nations, part of United Nations organization. Now we just come to the judicial part of the United Nations organization, that is International Court of Justice, ICJ. So ICJ has its headquarters in Hague, not in Americas. So, and for a court, it is always a law that the jurisdiction is up to the member states. So there are 193 members. So the jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice is to up to 193 members. It can summon any government. It has highest powers in the world regarding international issues. So there are 15 judges in the International Court of Justice, and the term for the judges is 9 years. The point is, who will be eligible to be the judge of the International Court of Justice? If any person is eligible to be the judge of the highest court in his country, then he is eligible to be the judge of the International Court of Justice also. So if anyone is eligible for the judge to be if anyone is eligible to be a judge of the Supreme Court of India, then is also eligible to be a judge of United Nations organization. So you must be remembering that the eminent jurist can be appointed as the judge of the Supreme Court. So any eminent jurist, even a lawyer, can be a judge of the International Court of Justice. So judges are elected by General Assembly and Security Council both. They are being voted by the majority, 2/3 majority. So judges have to fight the election rather. So judges of the this International Court of Justice are 15 in counts. And what will be the head of these judges called? Will he be the Chief Justice of the globe? No. He is the President of ICJ. He is President of the International Court of Justice. So the head of the International Court of Justice is called the President, not Chief Justice. So that is the designation of the Chief Justice. What will be the procedure of his removal? How would one remove, if someone wants to remove a judge from the this International Court of Justice? Only one method is that if there are 15, if one is to be removed, rest 14 should agree that he should not work as a judge, and this is practically impossible. So it has been almost made impossible to remove a judge from the International Court of Justice. Justice Dalbir Bhandari from India has served the Chief Justice of the United Nations recently. He fought for the post of the Chief Judge of the International Court of Justice, and in General Assembly he was voted 122 votes, and in Security Council he got 13 votes. So he was elected. And besides Justice Dalbir Bhandari, Justice Benegal Rao, Justice Nagendra Singh these were also these have also served as the judges of the International Court of Justice. So you must be remembering that the advisor of the Constitution Assembly was Justice B.N. Rao. The full name of B.N. Rao is Sir Benegal Rao. He was one of the judges of the International Court of Justice, and Dr. Nagendra Singh was the Chief Election Commissioner of India, and rather he was elected to the judge of the International Court of Justice. Now, there has been a point that capital punishment should be abolished from the world or not. So that issue came in the United Nations, and that went into the International Court of Justice also, but it has been voted out. India was also in opposition of this. India voted against this, that capital punishment should not be removed, that the power to hang someone should retain with the judiciary of that country. So now we come to the allied agencies of the United Nations. So allied agencies of the United Nations, is one of the famous agencies is UNICEF. UNICEF is an organization that is United Nations Children's Emergency Fund, and that is constituted after the World War. The basic objective was of the construction of the UNICEF was to save and provide immunities to the children in Europe, especially in the post-war era. So this UNICEF having its headquarters in Geneva, and it's a 36-member executive board. Rather, UNICEF gets its fund from the donation of the countries that are making that are the part of the UNICEF, and UNICEF is earning too much from the greeting cards. So almost $100 million have been generated by the greeting cards of the UNICEF, and UNICEF has worked so well that it has got Nobel Peace Prize in 1965 and the Indira Gandhi Peace Prize in 1984. So UNICEF worked in the case of national calamity, civil strife. If anywhere there is a civil strife, is anywhere there is a national calamity. If there is a disease, rather tuberculosis, malaria, eye disease, skin disease, UNICEF will work for this, because most children are the victims of this. So children and their mothers both are in the shade of UNICEF. They provide immunities to these, and the objective, the work area of the UNICEF has been increased from the Europe to the whole world. Now UNICEF is working all over the world, and the other work of UNICEF is to provide this clean water to the villages also. And oral rehydration program is one of the successful program of UNICEF. Rather, it's a oral rehydration therapy. So this UNICEF, besides UNICEF, the other agency is WHO, having headquarters in Geneva. So actually there are headquarters also, and there are sub headquarters also. So almost every country has its headquarters in Geneva, and there are sub headquarters in the Paris, in other countries also. So we now come to WHO. WHO has its headquarters in Geneva, and the work of this WHO is to improve health system in the country. WHO has launched the immunization program. 6 major diseases, the measles, the diphtheria, tetanus, tuberculosis, polio, and the whooping cough, they come under the umbrella of the WHO. And 1981 to 90 was declared as a decade for the drinking water. So WHO has launched its campaign for cleaning the water also. Malaria eradication program launched by the WHO is one of the largest program launched in the world, and obviously it was launched in India. So rather, WHO decides that what will be the standard of the immunity, and what will be the standard of besides immunity, what will be the standard of medicines a country should adopt. So besides this WHO, the other important organization is UNICEF, that we have to UNESCO, that we have to study. So UNESCO is a rather educational, scientific and cultural and communication organization. So it's very clear by its name also. So the basic target, the basic purpose of this UNESCO is to eradicate the illiteracy from the world. because it worked for the education, the adult literacy, and the organization of the book fair. UNESCO organizes the book fair all about the world. And besides this, besides this, the UNESCO also work for the so UNESCO work for the environmental sake, UNESCO work for the cultural sake, UNESCO work for the communication, UNESCO work for the education, and UNESCO work for all these things which are the sake of the cultural uh, pattern. But just now compare this UNICEF and the UNESCO. UNICEF, with having its chief headquarters in New York and the sub headquarters in Geneva and Paris and all that. So this UNICEF, if you compare it with UNESCO, they both collaborate with each other and work, because UNICEF is working wholesale for the children and UNESCO is working for the illiteracy eradication, and obviously the education has to do with children. So there is not a very sharp difference between these organizations. They work in a same place, in a same district, on the same people. So they work with collaboration, and this collaboration is done by their governing agencies. And India has been benefiting a lot from its UNICEF, directed from the New York, and this UNESCO, directed from the Paris chief headquarters. And all the third world countries are being privileged with the services of these organizations. So this was all about United Nations and its subsidiary organizations, United Nations and its major agencies. So thank you very much for watching.